Welcome back, everybody. The Yankee and the Brit. I'm Jay. He's Maddie, and we are going to go through some NFC offseason moves, but we're going to talk some of the rule changes too.
Yeah, very exciting. Very big offseason. Talking about the NFC offseason moves is a pretty massive topic for us to cover. So let's see how long this video takes.
Right. So let's talk some of those offseason moves, though, quick, Maddie. Like, or the offseason
The rule changes.
Yeah. We'll talk about the kickoff last because I still fucking hate it and I can't get over the Mickey Mouse nature of the new kickoff rule. But So Dan Campbell actually did one good thing for the NFL. Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions now have helped change the challenge rule to if you get one challenge right, you get that challenge back with a maximum of 3. You no longer have to get both challenges right to get the third challenge.
Yeah, you should always get your challenge back, right? I feel like, and then get your third challenge as well. I feel like that's just a common sense rule. Do you know what? I don't hate challenges like in the NFL. Like I don't want unlimited challenges because then people will use them as timeouts. But I don't see the problem with challenges. It surely means that we'll get more concise refereeing going forward.
I think I've always said you should get 2 wrong challenges a game. So even if I challenge 50 times, as long as I don't get 2 of them wrong, because it's not the coach and the team's fault that refs suck. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I was just going to say, but they're never going to do that because of TV time.
Yeah. Well, it gives them more advertising time, the more challenges, I guess. But then the game just becomes so long. With cricket, the way that it's done is you get 3 reviews. At the start of a day's play, you get 3 reviews, and if you keep on getting them right, you just hold on to those reviews. But once you've got 3 wrong, you can't review anymore. But like as long as you don't get 3 wrong, then it's fine. But if you keep getting them right, you keep holding on to your reviews. So in essence, you get 3 chances to get it wrong.
I think that makes more sense to me, but I do like the expanded booth review that they're doing this year, so more plays can be radioed down into the ear of the refs, even though they pretended last year like they didn't do it, and they'd be like, after further discussion, when that they were really saying was, after the dude in the booth got in my ear and told me we were wrong, we're reversing, but now they're going to actually use the booth more, which I think is great.
What needs to happen is we need to hear the discussion between the refs about like their discussion about what's going on in that play, because that's what they have in rugby, and it's very successful in rugby, where you hear the head referee and the video official, you hear them discussing the call, and it just makes everything more open. It just makes sure that the fans you can disagree with the call, but at least you understand where it's coming from at that point, and it just makes everything feel more open. And I think it's also so good when you're watching it and you can like see a call kind of going your way very slowly, or you see it ebbing away from you very slowly, and then all of a sudden someone says something that takes it completely in the other direction, and it just adds to the theater of the actual decision. But more booth reviews, I don't even necessarily think it needs to be booth reviews, because basically every time they go over to the booth, they're going to change their decision. Like pretty much every time they go over to the booth, we know they're changing their decision. So not necessarily booth reviews, but the more reviewable plays, the better in the NFL.
Well, I don't know if you could tell, but my look of disgust for even bringing up fucking rugby at this point in my life makes me hate fucking rugby. And that brings us to the hip drop tackle, which caused a couple Aussies to lose their fucking mind in a group. And I didn't know this, but Maddie pointed it out. So Dan Walls, if you're watching this, you dumb motherfucker, the NRL isn't even the best rugby league, and that was your dumbass argument. So yes, I'm putting that dude out on blast. After he told me how bad America sucked, how I was an ignorant, stupid, like self-absorbed American, and
yeah. So there are 2 forms of rugby, and Jay got in an argument with somebody who is an Australian supporter of rugby league.
Well, it
Now,
really wasn't even an argument. It was a question that led to anger because I said, "Are you really comparing the NFL to the NRL?"
yeah,
And then he said something about the idea of tackling's the same, and I said, "Do you really believe tackling somebody in rugby is the same as two guys running 20 miles an hour tackling each other?" And then he lost his fucking mind.
yeah, I think the question of who's tougher in rugby and the NFL is always going to just like
It wasn't even
divide
tougher though. It was
opinion.
about this
Yeah,
hip
yeah.
drop tackle,
But
and well, they banned
that's
it
what
in
he'll be getting obsessed
rugby.
about.
I don't give a fuck what they did in rugby. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So with you can ban the hip drop tackle in rugby a lot easier because of the way tackle technique works in rugby, because the way that the tactic works is you've got one line of people going up against another line of people. You don't just have somebody coming from the other side to like take them out and it be, because that's offside. So in the NFL you have obviously guys coming from every direction. So if you're coming to tackle somebody from behind, the hip drop tackle is a little bit more helpful, right? The thing is with rugby league as well, rugby league is basically played in Yorkshire, which is a county in England, and Australia, and then the rest of the rugby playing world plays something called rugby union, which is just better. But yeah. So look, I'm in favor of them banning the hip drop tackle as long as they define tackle is.
okay,
Oh,
repeat
you
that.
just
I had to
muted me.
mute you for fun. Sorry.
You just made me. I'm in favor of them banning the hip drop tackle as long as they clearly define what the hip drop tackle is. The problem is the definition isn't clear enough, which is going to lead to problems going further down the line. And it should be more things like using excessive force in the hip drop tackle, like
We might
using
as well just
like
go
those
to
kind of
fucking
things.
flag football and get it over with because that's where the fuck it's going.
No, like the
How do
hits
you
and stuff.
tackle a guy? So I'm running on the side of him. I grab him by his waist. We're both running somewhere in excess of 13 to 20 miles an hour. And how am
Mm.
I supposed to tackle this guy without dropping?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. The definition needs to be a bit clearer on it, because there is no way to tackle somebody. There is no way to tackle something without
Well,
dropping.
how
It's
about
the
we just
landing on the back of the leg, but then it becomes like people are getting banned for stuff that is clearly accidental. So it's so difficult to define that. I think what the NFL is trying to do is obviously have
not
less
get
players
sued?
get injured. Sorry?
They're just trying
Yeah.
not to get sued. Like,
Yeah,
that's it.
trying not to get sued. So they
Because
have less players get injured. So if you say things like "we'll flag you for it," that's okay to me. But you can't then go banning players for games and making them play massive fines. I'm
oh,
like,
they already said
okay,
that
that gets
even
a
if
bit
it doesn't
close.
get called, that they're going to fine them. And
Yeah, I
my
don't think that's
argument,
fair.
and I got so worked up, my voice just a second ago cracked like a prepubescent boy trying to talk. But like, how about we just accept, which all the players have already accepted, that football is an inherently dangerous game where injuries are going to happen. And the more rules they keep making, the closer and closer we get to flag football.
Yeah, I think you can set rules out that will make it less likely that players are going to get injured. So
The
so
players hate it. The
yeah. When
NFLPA fought against it and they still
that's
passed it unanimously.
That's what I was just about to say. When the NFLPA came out against it, I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm fine with that. I think you can. I think like the laws around not hitting people in the head, I think is
I
pretty
get
right.
that.
Like that's
Yes,
good. Like
I think
yeah,
they take it too far, but yes, like those grazing, like when a guy comes in and it grazes the quarterback's helmet with his hand trying to block the pass,
yeah.
like
That's yeah.
we need to go
All the
back
stuff
to
on the
forcible.
quarterback. Yeah,
We need to go back to forcible contact. Like, and
yeah,
then my problem with this too is, and I think you'll agree, we're putting more on the refs that is subjective. Like the refs don't get enough shit. And this was brought up I think it was Boston Connor, but this was brought up the other day and I heard it, which so now when this happens and it helps somebody like the Chiefs, this whole it's scripted and rigged thing is going to go
Yeah.
even more like insane.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at with it. I don't dislike them banning. I don't mind them banning the tackle that got Mark Andrews injured.
The NFL said that's the least egregious of all of them.
Yeah, which is like that's crazy. Like I don't mind them banning that style of tackle and making it a flaggable offense, but
Well,
I don't want to see players get extended bans. I don't want to see them get like massive fines for this.
What year were you born?
97.
Okay, so I think this was 2 years after you were born, so you won't remember it. But this play could have changed the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
0 seconds left on the clock after this. But then it'd have been personal foul, hip draft tackle on 52 on the defense, half the distance to the goal, we were on time down. Like that could have literally changed the Super Bowl over that tackle.
Yeah. I'm all for them making the game more safe. My biggest issue with it is just how subjective it is. Like what you're saying, I'm almost weirdly justifying, and I hate this, is like a cause-based penalty. So if a player gets injured from it, that's when it's penalized. But if everybody's okay, you just move on. But
well, then you just fake an injury.
Yeah. Well, that should. Yeah. Fair enough. That's kind of against the. I guess that's like the least. For me, when I watch the NFL, faking injuries is the last thing I expect American football players to do.
They fake injuries just to get time for their defense to breathe.
Yeah.
You know, there's been times where two guys fall at the same time and one of them looks like they just got shot after a play to try to, like, you know what I mean? Get by more time so their defense can breathe on one of those drives.
I'm okay with them banning it. They need to really clear up the law on it going forward. And I
hate that they banned it, and I find it ridiculous.
I hate anything subjective for the refs to do.
All right, well,
like refs being led to doing anything subjective is awful.
Yeah, let's talk about the kickoff rule before we get into the NFC. And I fucking hate it. It's Mickey Mouse as fuck. It's the weird XFL with some tweaks. And now they're like, so for anybody who doesn't know, the kicker will still stand at the 30 and kick. The kick team will now stand at the opposing team's 40. The receiving team will stand at the 35. And the kicker now has to drop the kick between the 20 and the goal line. Otherwise, if it hits before it, it's an out of bounds kick, move the ball to the 40. If you kick it into the end zone, it is now at the 30. But if it lands in that 20-yard gap and then goes into the end zone and is a touchback, then it's to the 20, which is way too many rules as it is.
Yeah.
And then teams are just going to start putting fucking like their best player back there, and other teams are going to go, fuck you, I'm not kicking it to Tyreek Hill, and just kick it out the back of the end zone and let you have it at the 30 anyway. It's not going to help the game. It's not going to help the kickoff. It's going to make the whole thing a fucking clown show. I hate it. I fucking hate it.
Yeah, it's too many rules, isn't it? Like I really want them to bring kickoffs back because there is nothing more electric than somebody returning it to the house for a kickoff, right? And the reason for not having your best player back there or having a punt return, kick return specialist is because you're terrified that your best player is going to get hurt. But if you have guys starting at so where does the kicking team start off at when they're running towards them, like the 40?
The guy who's kicking, or the guy who's receiving, or the rest of the team?
The team who are going to go and try and tackle the guy who's receiving.
So all the players line up at the 35 with the other team at the 40, so 5 yards apart. But the returner lines up in that 20 to the goal line, waiting for the.
So The idea behind it is sound, where it's like you compress the field, and if everybody's running together not as hard, then you're going to limit concussions. However, the issue with that is NFL players reach their top speed in a lot sooner than that. So taking away the like amount of time that they get there actually doesn't reduce the collision speed at all.
Well, and
because they reach their top speed within that anyway.
And only the kicker and the guy receiving the ball can move before the ball is caught or hits the ground.
Right, okay. What?
So you line up at the 40. I line up at the 40. You line up at the 35. The receiving guy's back here. We kick it. None of these dudes can move until this dude catches it or the ball hits the ground. I hate it. I fucking hate it. Now, they haven't passed it yet, but it's going to pass in May. They're tweaking it, and I fucking hate it.
Hopefully they'll tweak it to the fact that they can move. So it just swings it too far. You're right. It swings it too far the other way now, where you just put your best player back there and then the kicker's just going to say fuck you and send it out. The way that the XFL fix that is by putting the kickers back. Like the kickers are further away, aren't they, from the
well, the kicker will still kick from way back at the 30, but everybody else will be lined up on the other side of the field on the 40 and the 35.
So your kicker has to make it a while before it'll be touchback, though. Like the kicker's got to like absolutely launch it before they can get it to go touchback.
But they have to land it between the 20 and the goal line, because if it lands in the end zone, then the ball comes out to the 30.
Yeah, but they're okay. Yeah, but as you're saying, I would rather give up the 10-yard penalty.
It's actually only 5 now. That it used to be 35. Now they tweaked it to 30. It's only 5 because it used to come out to the 25 anyway, right? So
yeah, it is. I would rather have the penalty for not having to kick it to Tyreek Hill. However, the kicker has to make a much better kick to stick it out the back of the end zone. So I think we are going to see more returns from
it'd be the same
NFL kickers should have that level.
It'd be the same kick because they're kicking it from the same spot.
They're kicking from the 30. Yeah, right. Okay, but in the XFL, they kick from further back.
I think it just looks further because everybody's lined up in that Mickey Mouse fucking hat up. You know what I mean? 60 yards away or whatever. Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah. Don't add too many rules. See, we've just got confused. We've been reading the rules like beforehand, and we've just got confused.
We might as well just go to fucking flag football at this point. I just fucking A. All right. Before I go,
as long as there's more, I'm all for there being more returns because it's the best. It's one of the best plays in the game when you see somebody return a kickoff.
You're gonna not think that when it cost the Cowboys a fucking game, but. Like I don't know. So we're going to start with the NFC. Where dealer's choice here, Maddie. Where do you want to start in the NFC? Which division?
Well, I think we should start with the divisions that we know the most about, right? So the North. We'll start with the North, then go East, South, and then West.
Okay, works for me.
All right.
So, might as well start with the Chicago Bears, right?
Okay. Yep. Let's go alphabetical.
I'll just quick run through their additions. So Brett Rippon, DeAndre Swift, Brett Rippon quarterback backup, DeAndre Swift, Keenan Allen, wide receiver Dante Pettis, O-lineman Ryan Bates, O-lineman Jake Curry, Matt Pryor, O-lineman Cole Shelton, Gerald Everett, tight end, Jake Martin, D-end. Holy fuck. Amen Agubalima, or whatever the fuck. I don't know. I'm not even trying to
fucking... Abonga Minga.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Cornerback Jalen Johnson. Safety Kevin Bird. Safety Jonathan Owens. And long snapper Patrick Scales.
Yeah. A lot of business for the Bears. So the Bears have been active in the free agency market, and that's what you get when they've had that space, right? They've been setting them up to be able to do that for a while. I actually really like what the Bears have done in this window. in this free agency window. I think even looking at just their top signings, so I've given them a grade, the Bears, of a B to a B plus. Couldn't quite decide. We'll see how it all comes off. But I like DeAndre Swift in terms of like he's a really good weapon in a 1-2 punch as long as he has another quarterback to kind of do running back to do the heavy lifting, and can Khalil Herbert offer that? Well, we'll see. But Swift can be quite injury prone and a bit soft, but as long as his load is lessened by Herbert, he becomes a really great weapon. Keenan Allen, although coming towards kind of the end of his career, in 2023 had 108 receptions for nearly 1,200 yards, a really good big body receiver. And they've tried to revamp their own line, which I think was a must for the Bears after Justin Fields.
Keenan Allen's older than Nicholas Farrell.
Yeah, no. Keenan Allen is old, but last season he had 108 receptions for 1,200 yards.
I just had to throw my Harry Potter reference in there real quick. If anybody doesn't know, he had the Sorcerer's Stone. But
yeah.
Do
you know that we call that something different in the UK? Do you know it's the Philosopher's Stone in the UK?
Yeah, they now changed. They actually changed the name, the covers of the movies over here now too.
Yeah, it was the Philosopher's Stone.
But whatever, that motherfucker's been alive for like 300 years in like Harry Potter movies, and so like I get it, but you gave up fucking draft capital to go get Keenan Allen. I just okay, and then at what point does Keenan Allen fall off? Like, because it's going to happen. So at what point does he fall off? I think Swift has proved through two different teams that he's definitely not like your top weapon, and he's never going to be. And so I think they did all right. I think they got better. I don't think they got as better as the talking heads on TV think.
Yeah, I definitely think that they've got better. And what I think has happened as well is they've set themselves up quite nicely for the draft. Obviously, they're going to draft Caleb Williams first overall. And then I think they're in the point of, look, I don't want to be told that we haven't given our quarterback the chance to be successful again. Like with Fields, we could say to them, Fields never had the opportunity to be successful. The weapons weren't there. The O-line has been terrible. But they have... Yeah, well, there's also the fact that the reason Fields wasn't good is because Fields isn't good. So that's so that makes sense. But they haven't given them the opportunity. They haven't given him the opportunity to do it either. So I think it makes a lot of sense to me. Obviously, their defense finished off one of the best in the league towards the end of the year. They bring in two-time Pro Bowler Kevin Bard,
depending who's saying it.
Yeah. So two-time All-Pro, but was also part of one of the worst secondaries in the league at the Eagles last season. So I wonder how that's going to go. Jonathan Owens is a pretty solid player, good tackle stats at Green Bay. Obviously, it also means Simone Biles will be at Chicago Bears games, so I'm sure they'll sell a few more tops there as well. So that's always a plus.
Yeah, poor Green Bay. They don't get the presence of Simone Biles every other Sunday anymore.
Yeah, it's a shame.
And there's pictures. So there's this our artsy district is called the Broadway district, and I literally live 5 blocks from Broadway Street, right? There's pictures of her and Taylor Swift walking down the Broadway district, which is wild to me in Green Bay. Like her and Taylor Swift in Green Bay walking down a street 5 blocks from my house. It's wild to me.
Yeah, but Chicago gets that with everybody, so they don't need
right. So that's why I said poor Green Bay. Poor Green Bay. They get the
yeah.
Now I think the Bears got better. Don't get me wrong. I think their defense came on last year. I like some of the moves they made on the defense. I like that they're going to try to keep the quarterback upright. That was some good moves. And yes, you want to give him weapons. I just don't know about the Keenan Allen move because without looking, I think they gave up a 4th for him, which I think
it's a 4th. Yeah,
is kind of high for a old receiver. But I do want to ask now. I don't know if you remember this, but 2 of our shows, I am paraphrasing, but I got called a fucking idiot in the comments because I said Justin Fields is worth a 6th or a 7th at best.
Oh yeah, you killed it, man. Good call. Worth and what he got. Yeah, I think it's everybody in his draft class looked at that, isn't it? And we'll talk more about the Justin Fields trade on our AFC show on Thursday. So
Well, I figured it can be touched both ways. I just think I think the Bears got put in a position where I think they forced themselves to make a dumb move. And this is where it applies to the Bears. If I am the Bears, I am keeping Justin Fields. I am drafting Caleb Williams. I am waiting till somebody gets hurt during the preseason, and I am trading him for a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, Fields, that's what, when they didn't trade him initially, and I think it's because they went in with a too high evaluation initially, right? So if they lower their evaluation to a 4th from the jump, a 3rd or a 4th from the jump, they might have got that for him in the trade market. When you look at what other teams, like other quarterbacks, have gone to other teams, I also think you're also trading for the Justin Fields contract. He's obviously in the last year of his rookie deal, so you're going to have to decide whether you give him the 5th-round option,
and you're going to have to see.
Yeah, you're obviously not going to give him
the 5th round option. $25 million. So
yeah, so you're obviously not going to give him the 5th round option. You need to decide what you're going to pay him and all of that kind of stuff. But the Bears are able to get rid of him at that point. Once they hadn't got rid of him, you hold on to him. You say to Caleb, you're playing from the jump, and you make Fields the very, very clear number 2. And then Fields is a great quarterback to bring into a system where you've just got your quarterback injured, and you just say to him, just give us a low floor.
The Bears wouldn't have done
give us a high floor. Yeah.
The Bears wouldn't have done this because it's the Vikings, but it's in that, like, when Kirk goes down, you call up a team, and then you get a higher pick than the 6th. And I know people are like, it can be a 4th on playing time. He's got to play 51% of the snaps. They have Russell Wilson. Unless Russell Wilson gets hurt, he is not seeing 51% of the snaps on that team this whole year. So it's a 6th.
Yeah, it's such an interesting quarterback situation.
We'll get to that on Thursday. I love the Russell Wilson signing for the Steelers. So, but
yeah.
So I give the Bears a high C or a low B. Like, I don't think they did horrible, but I think the talking heads are wrong, not the Bears, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I think I give them a B to a B plus. I think I like the Keenan Allen trade a lot more than you do. I think Keenan Allen becomes very good. Yeah, I think Keenan Allen is a very good wide receiver for a rookie QB to come into. And I don't mind giving up the 4th for that. If you think of, like, the draft is a crapshoot, like, what are you getting in the 4th round?
They gave up the 32nd overall pick for Chase Claypool, so they better be careful on trading for receivers.
That was stupid. That was the bigger issue there.
And I actually like that trade better because at least Chase Claypool was younger.
Yeah, but for the 32nd pick in the draft, that's
because Miami didn't have a draft pick. But it was a 2nd-round pick, and when you traded, I don't think you thought you were going to be the worst team in the league, and he was younger. It just, like, you didn't have a quarterback that could throw him the fucking ball either, so it didn't make sense to me. It is what it is. It just
didn't make sense in their rebuild. Yeah.
But let's talk about the Detroit Lions, man. We're going to talk some Lions, man. So, the Lions got what we're going to say. Sorry, Maddie.
No, I was just going to say, for me, the Lions have kind of gone into the mode of keeping players, right? They've basically said, we had a successful season last year. Let's just try and keep everybody. And then they've added small bits of talent, and I think that talent is really good. You're going to read through all the moves now, so go ahead.
Donovan Peoples-Jones, Graham Glasgow, Kevin Zeitler, Dan Skipper, Marcus Davenport. Okay, wait. Well, Peoples-Jones, wide receiver, Graham Glasgow, offensive lineman, Zeitler, offensive lineman, Dan Sniper, offensive tackle, Marcus Davenport, edge rusher, who has not played a full season, I think, his whole career, and played like 4 games last year for the Vikings.
Yeah.
DJ Reader at defensive line, which I actually think was one of their better signings.
That's a great move.
Linebacker Revis Mabin, or Jalen Revis Mabin, cornerback Clayton Davis, Emmanuel Mosley at corner, Akeem Roberts at corner, or Akim, sorry, Michael Badgley, kicker, and Scott Daly, long snapper. Nobody knows anybody but like 2 long snappers in the whole league. So there you go, guys.
Yeah, a lot of teams been signing long snappers though.
I like People Jones. You hold on to him. I think Zeitler was a good signing. I like Dan Skipper is a decent signing. I think DJ Reader was their best signing of the bunch. And then they traded for Clayton Davis. Was that a trade? Yeah, it was a trade.
Yeah, trade with the Bucks for a 6th-round pick.
In exchange for a
3rd-round pick.
Round. Okay.
So they swap picks for the 6th and the 3rd, and they swap Carlton Davis as well.
So I don't know. I think that the Lions stayed pretty much where they were. I don't think they got better, and I don't think they got worse.
Yeah, so for me, they've identified the problem that they had, which was their
Dan Campbell.
Apart from that big problem, they've identified the problem on the defensive side of the ball that they have, which is obviously their passing game. So they've got some guys in there to pass. Whenever I've seen Marcus Davenport play, I like Marcus Davenport, but will he play?
He was injured every year with the Saints, and then he got injured right away last year with the Vikings. So I don't know.
So whenever he plays, he looks good. So if you get a season out of him, but we haven't had a season out of him, so you're going to struggle. DJ Reader is a great move. 2 years, 27 million, with a 9 million guarantee. I think DJ Reader is a great move for them. I think he offers them pass rush from the D-line position as well as blocking the runs as well. I think he's great. Carlton Davis is a very solid cornerback, and Amik Robertson doesn't move the needle that much for me, but is again a solid cornerback as well. So they've brought in secondary help, they've brought in the pass rush help. I think DJ Reader probably moves them a little bit, but not really a huge amount.
Yeah. I said it last year, and I truly believe it. I think that they're going to fall back. I think that Lions will fall back. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. And I think a lot of it is Dan Campbell. And I think Dan Campbell showed the makeup of what's behind that team. They were all in 1 year. And then when they didn't happen, he was like, even Dan was like, who knows? We might never get back there. Yeah, you're not gonna, because of shit like that. That's exactly the kind of culture breaking comments from a head coach. Because if you're the player and they're like, what, Dan doesn't think we're that good? We were lucky to get there. I just don't get the shit that comes out of Dan Campbell's mouth sometimes. You're not a player, bro. You're a coach. There's certain shit you cannot be saying.
Yeah, the whole city swelled around it as well. It was a whole city push. And you feel like if they walk into the stadium and they're not getting that immediately, they won't play at the same level. And also the division has got better this year as well. The NFC North was in a bit of a weird flux place last year. We'll see how whoever's quarterbacking for the Vikings plays, obviously, but all the teams look like they have a better roster at the start of this year. So we'll see.
Unless he shits the bed at Sam Darnold all year.
Yeah, I agree. For the Lions, I gave them a B, but that's more on the players that they kept. They didn't really lose anyone important. They're pretty much in the same spot. I think I'm quite a nice grader. So
you are, because I call it a C minus.
Yeah, we call when I'm teaching a history class like this, where it's if you're just staying at like your good level, we say that you're in the beehive, which means that you're never going to be bad enough to drop below a B, but you're not really smart enough to hit the A either. So like the whole class is just a beehive,
Oh,
and
so
that's what I felt with the
you
Lions.
just call your students dumb. I see. Okay.
No, B is good. B is really good. They're
You're
just
never
like,
you said you're never going to be smart enough to be an A, so I had to
yeah, like they don't have the necessary stuff to get an A. B is
fucking
good.
dumb kids.
Our
Yeah, I give
exams
it
are multiple choice questions, so it's harder to get
I
a
give it a
B.
C minus because I don't think they really upgraded anywhere. And
Yeah,
if you're where they made it to last year, and if you're really going to make a push, probably should have upgraded. But that's
I think DJ Reader just gives them a little bit more. But yes, I understand the thought process there.
and guys like DJ Reader though, it's not like they cost the world. So if you were that great, why didn't your team re-sign you? But that's always a free agent argument.
That's every free agent argument. That's why I always find it weird, like when fans say they've won because of free agency, and it's like, well, hang on, you've just signed a load of players that are outside of a few free agents, like Saquon Barkley, for example. You've signed a load of players that nobody else really wants.
Well,
So you may have got better, but yeah, moving on.
let's talk about the team who got worse in this division.
Okay.
So
Yes.
the Green Bay Packers used some weird 4-year rule that nobody knew about to retain AJ Dillon. Then they make a lateral move to pay Josh Jacobs more than Aaron Jones, which I actually think Aaron Jones is probably better, but at best we'll call it lateral. We'll call it a wash, right? Then
Aaron
I
Jones was better last year.
huh?
Aaron Jones was better last year.
Yeah, at the end of the year, that dude was fucking amazing, right?
Yeah, he was unstoppable.
And so I love Josh Jacobs too. This isn't a shot at Josh Jacobs. I just think you
Yeah.
had a better running back in the building. And they're like, it's a 4-year deal, but it's really like 4 1-year deals. If you read the contract, the Packers can get out of it without barely any repercussions after every year. They re-signed Tyler Davis. Yay. They re-signed Eric Wilson. Okay, that was good. You re-signed Ballatin. And then here's the thing. So Xavier McKinney, best signing they did. That's actually an upgrade. I will give them that. But then you go and sign Greg Joseph. Take it from me, who has been with Greg Joseph for 3 years now. I don't know what the fuck you're thinking. The guy is money over 50, but can't make anything under 40. So good luck with that. And now you're going to put him in Lambeau Field where that wind is whipping. Like he's not even in Minnesota's dome anymore. Yeah, that was dumb as fuck.
I always think kickers in the NFL is just strange now because Brandon Aubrey's coming in. They're the most popular sport in the world is about kicking a ball. So, like, I understood for a while, oh, the 32 kickers in the NFL are the best 32 kickers, but actually, they're the kickers who decided to play American football. The actual best kickers are in a totally different sport. So I feel like you could go grab kickers from other places to replace this pool.
I had an argument thrown at me by an Aussie yesterday about how many punters from rugby are in the NFL. And I said, are you really trying to compare punters to NFL athletes?
Yeah, it's not the same. That punters, the NFL should be hiring more punters from sports like Aussie rules football, rugby, and all of that. 100%, because then your punters will also be able to tackle and be athletic and do all of that. Right. But saying, oh, the NFL is relying on rugby and stuff because of their punters is just nuts. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. But for me, the best kickers are in other sports. So the idea that you have this school of kickers who all just seem to rotate from team to team to team. My idea is if you failed in one team, how much better are you going to be somewhere else? Now, I don't think Greg Joseph is as horrendous as you. I think you have a lot of like hurtful memories attached to Greg Joseph.
If you lose your team multiple games, are you not horrendous?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. And I think I like the idea of having someone that's money over 50, but you've got to make the gimmies. And Greg Joseph doesn't make the gimmies.
He misses extra points on a regular basis.
Yeah. Yeah, Greg Joseph is a strange one.
They cut Carlson for Greg Joseph. Like, that shit doesn't make sense to me. Carlson was a young kicker who, I don't know the stats in front of me, but he couldn't have been worse than Joseph. So why wouldn't you ride the big leg younger kicker? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, it's strange. The Josh Jacobs move is also a straight. I agree with you. Josh Jacobs is probably, in terms of things like potential and ceiling and all of that kind of stuff, Josh Jacobs is probably a little better than Aaron Jones. Last year he wasn't. And how much better is he? Because in year one, Josh Jacobs is costing you double what Aaron Jones is going to cost in his 1 year deal with the Vikings. So in year one, he's got 14.8 million coming his way, and Aaron Jones for the Vikings cost 7 million for 1 year. So is he double? Is he better by that much? No. Like, no, he's definitely not.
And is he better? Because Aaron Jones is a way better receiver. So, like, if you do all around yards, Aaron Jones is going to kill. This is all things being equal and everybody staying healthy.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones is going to kill the all-purpose yards compared to Josh Jacobs. And now this is my argument if I'm a Packer or a Packer fan. You have a young quarterback in Jordan Love who has shown some life, who has shown some ability, and now you're going to take away his safety blanket out of the backfield. And how many times have we watched Aaron Jones catch a screen pass or a swing pass and make something huge happen?
Aaron Jones basically won them a playoff game against the Cowboys. Like, he won them a playoff game on his own back. Like, everybody's like, John Love. John Love has to hit open receivers because everybody's in the box stopping Aaron Jones. And Jordan Love has proved himself last year. Like, he played really well. We'll see how he does this year. But
I still don't know what he is, but he showed me something. Like, that's
he's shown us something. Like, we know he has something.
He's an
which
NFL
we didn't
quarterback.
know they had at the start of the season. Yeah, definitely, 100%.
I just don't know how good of an NFL quarterback yet.
Yeah,
and
100%.
For me, the sky's the limit, but the floor's the limit too. Like, if you get what I'm saying with him, like, it could go either way. I just need to see more. But that's not shitting on Aaron Jones. But why would you take his safety blanket away? I don't understand.
Yeah, I didn't get it. And Xavier McKinney is a really, really good free agency signing. You get a really good safety at the age of 24. So he's just reaching his prime. Like, really, really good signing for me. But for me, it's what the Packers didn't do. So they have this young team, this like crazy young team. Where's the vet experience to get you over the line if you're the Green Bay Packers? Like, all of those young teams need
AJ Dillon.
All right. Needs a veteran experience. You need veteran experience to get you kind of over the hump, like get you over the line. Like, what did the Eagles have in their Super Bowl winning team, or the team that most recently got them to the Super Bowl? Well, yes, they had loads of young talent. They have Jalen Hurts down up at quarterback. They have AJ Brown. They have Devontae Smith. But what else do they also have? Jason Kelsey. They also had
Darius Slay.
Yeah, Darius Slay. They have all of these players that have been there, done it before. The Chiefs, you have, like, obviously Patrick Mahomes has now been there, done it before, but in his like first Super Bowls, you have Patrick Mahomes, but Andy Reid is not even the coach in the Packers, is an experienced veteran coach in getting them over the line. So they could have done with adding some vet experience for me. The Packers, I've given them a C.
I guess the only thing I'll give the Packers is there's still a lot of time after the draft to pick up some veteran guys if that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, I've given them a C. I think Xavier McKinney lifts it up, and I don't think they wanted to add many free agents this year because obviously they have this young team.
Yeah, that's not what they do either, but it's still.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about, and you guys can call me a homer. I'm okay with it, but this is one of the teams I think did the most this year with what they had, and I think people are finally seeing Kawasi's vision come to fruition after dumping big contracts last year and this year. And I know a lot of Vikings fans were upset because they were big names, but if you look at it, we get rid of Eric Kendricks, and then he falls off completely. We get rid of Anthony Barr. Anthony Barr falls off. Now, Daniil Hunter is not going to fall off, but he was going to be 30. He's getting 50 million guaranteed, and I think Jonathan Grenard is a perfect replacement for it, and I love what they did. To me, the big thing comes down to is how Sam Darnold going to play because of Kirk Cousins going, but let's run through this quick. Quarterback Sam Darnold, running back Aaron Jones. We re-signed Brandon Powell, which if you're not a Vikings fan or Maddie, you probably don't understand like how big that
Great
is.
move.
Trent Sherfield, I think, was a great pickup for your 4 or 5 receiver because that's where he's going to be on your depth chart. Johnny Munt, I thought was a great re-signing because he is universally known as the best third string tight end, which is a weird thing for people to say, but okay.
Yeah.
Quisenberry, they needed to re-sign because he played 4 positions last year as a backup for them on the offensive line, so that's good. They needed to do more on the offensive line. I could argue that. Dan Freeney, I think that's just a depth move. I just don't really get that, I'll be honest. But here we go to Jonathan Grenard, 4-year, $76 million. Way cheaper than Daniil Hunter. The guy put up 12.5 sacks last year. He's young. He's coming, and he's been just ascending every year since then. Andrew Van Ginkel was an amazing signing who Flores drafted. This guy can play all over at any position. Jihad Ward is a guy you're going to bring in to you're going to bring him in on running downs, and Jerry Tillery you're going to bring down in passing downs. So they got 2 guys that cover needs that you would most likely rather have in one guy. Jonathan Bullard, we had to re-sign him because we needed the depth. Jonah Williams is a good another depth piece. Brian Cashman is way better than he is anybody who's wondering, he is a younger, faster Eric Kendricks. So that was a great move. And then you can go through Hill was an okay signing. I'm not sure how I feel about the Shaq Griffin signing because I feel like that's just a depth move. And then I have no idea who this John Parker Romo is that played in the XFL last year, but that's a kicker.
Should we see if we can find out some of John Parker Romo's stats?
It's something about that he has this booming leg. I guess he has this monster fucking leg. That's all I know about him.
Brandon Aubrey 2.0. I was hoping you knew more about him.
I didn't, and he played in the USFL or the XFL or the USFL. I don't even remember which one. Wait, it had to be the USFL, right? Because the XFL is just coming back now. I don't remember.
Yeah. Let's have a look.
John Parker Romo.
I did fuck with people in the
group. I did fuck with people in the group though. After Kurt signed, they signed this kid, and I was with the Atlanta, and I started posting in the groups. The Vikings signed Romo.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Like when I first saw his name, I was like, oh, that's an interesting conclusion. Right, okay. He can apparently drill a 73-yard field goal.
Okay.
Okay, cool. There's videos of him like nailing 73.
I don't have a problem with this though, just because Greg Joseph was so bad.
Yeah, that feels like it could be the same problem, but I mean, Greg Joseph wasn't nailing them from 73 yards. There's also a video of him here like putting in a pretty decent hit, so he can actually tackle, which is like always handy for a kicker. Yeah, I love what the Vikings have done. So basically, it's weird saying this, because I also love what the Falcons have done, because the Falcons have kind of taken themselves from a nothing team to a contender by getting Kirk Cousins, as long as Kirk Cousins is a contender. Yeah, as long as Kirk Cousins is healthy.
Like when you look at their weapons, have a shot at winning the Super Bowl.
I was thinking contender for the contender. I think they're a dark horse for the NFC, but we'll anyway. Kirk Cousins, like bringing in Kirk Cousins, but then after losing Kirk Cousins, the Vikings have also pivoted really, really well and have built up a team, which is kind of built for success, right? So I love the laugh.
I didn't need to either. It just came out like it was like, but I want to know what you think. So there is this rumor that the Vikings are working a deal right now to give up the 11th and 23rd pick to move up to number 4. Then they're going to take the number 4 pick and next year's number 1 and move up to number 2 with the Commanders. In the scheme of things, everybody's like, oh, you're giving up so many picks. Well, really, if you go back, they gave up 2 seconds for that 23rd, and then they will give up next year's first. But in the scheme of things, if you go through all the math, the Vikings to get to 2, if that worked out, would really only give up 2 first and 2 seconds of their own picks. I think if you think about that to get up to number 2, that is an amazing deal.
It's an amazing deal when you look at the work that they've done with this free agency. Like when you look at the work that they've done to build the roster, the fact that they've got Jordan, the fact that they've got Addison and Jefferson in the same team. Like that is a wide. TJ Hawkinson at tight end is very, very quarterback friendly as well. Like the Vikings have created a roster that is a quarterback away. And to put on top of that, they've got Sam Darnold, who I think is, if you look at the coaches who like Sam Darnold, like he was courted by Sean Payton. He's been like Shanahan wanted him on his staff. McVay wanted him on his roster. All of those guys, and then KOC, who's from that same tree as those guys, has been told really good things about him and wants him on his roster as well.
According to reports, Kevin O'Connell chose him. Kwesi let him choose who they went after.
So does that not show good signs for Sam Darnold? I like Sam Darnold. I think he was in shape, but I think Sam Darnold is good enough to get a good amount out of those weapons, especially if you have that defense. But what it also allows you to do is have no pressure on your quarterback, who, if you're going to draft 2, 3, whatever, it takes all of the pressure off that position, as long as Sam Darnold can play pretty well. And what's the worst that can happen? Oh, we've drafted this quarterback. And we have to put him in a bit early because Sam Darnold's freaking out. Well, all right, like that's still better than what most teams have. And the best thing that can happen is you've paid $10 million for a quarterback that, if Sam Darnold plays well, can easily be a starting quarterback in the NFL, who you can get the trade value back that you've just given up for your quarterback, for your rookie quarterback as well. Like if he's good enough and gets them to a certain place, you could get a second or a first round pick for a quarterback.
And it's really a $6 million deal because he has to hit so many
like crazy
to get to that $10 million.
Yeah, crazy.
And then there's rumors out there that he turned down more money from the Broncos to go to Minnesota, which makes sense if you're him, because why wouldn't you want a chance to play with Addison and Jefferson and turn your whole career around and prove that you can play? The one thing that Kevin O'Connell said that made me feel a little bit better, the reason he went with Sam Darnold is because Darnold had all the talent, but his feet never married with his arm. And now, after being with Shanahan, his feet married his arm, which is the way Kevin was explaining it, one of the bigger, problems he had, and he was happy to see that. And we'll get there, but the odd thing is so everybody has JJ McCarthy pegged to go to the Vikings. The reports now are the Commanders like McCarthy at number 2. And
so you only have to get up to 3 to get Jaden Daniels.
Well, somebody on this podcast kind of scoffed at me when I was telling them how much I liked JJ McCarthy during the year. And this isn't a shot at you, this next one, but somebody was really high on Jaden Daniels early in this process too.
The Jaden Daniels is a better look on you because I refuse to take quarterback advice from the Commanders. We'll see.
But it's not just him. Even the evaluators now are Jade, and I just want to put that out there that somebody was high on these two before even the so-called Mel Kipers of the world and Field Yates.
Yeah. It's okay because the Vikings are going to take Drake May at 3.
I'll fucking be so mad. I'll be so fucking mad if they draft the bust of the century. I will be so mad.
Yeah, then Sam Darnold's going to look really good. I think the Vikings.
I am the only one who doesn't like Drake May. Everybody else loves this fucking guy.
Yeah, I don't see it. Chris Sims doesn't see it, and he's usually not far off in terms of what actually happens on draft night a lot of the
Chris
time.
Sims and I both put Zach Wilson as the #1 quarterback once upon a time, so there is that.
That draft class is such a weird one. So the Vikings have done a great job from twisting out of what a lot of teams would consider a loss, like losing a quarterback like Kirk Cousins. They've done a great job in turning that into a positive, and they're going to have one of the best defenses in the league. Which, when was the last time we could say that about the Vikings? The Purple People Eaters.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what
what
the fuck. I'm excited
what
Flores
the Vikings
with
are
all of
do.
these moves they made.
Yeah.
And
we're gonna have to
there's
gonna
so
have
many
to pick
guys
up the pace
that
for
are
these
versatile.
yeah, definitely. They've killed it. They've definitely killed it in the draft. Moving on to the NFC East. We're an hour in. We've only done one division.
Yeah, we better make a move. But we did talk 25 minutes about rule changes. So
that's also the division with the most moves per team. Like going forward, there's quite a lot of teams that are small on moves.
You mean like the Cowboys? Let's start with them.
Like the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah.
So you re-sign your running back Rico
Dowdle, baby.
And then
let's go.
I called this way ahead of time, but Eric Kendrick signs with the Cowboys.
Great work.
Cornerback Lewis signs with the Cowboys. And then lawn snapper Trent Sieg. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, long snapper. Let's moving on. Yeah.
I give you an F. Sorry.
An F.
It's because they can't do anything because of Dak's contract.
Yeah.
And it's more of that Jerry. We have to rewind back to the beginning of this contract and how Jerry fucked this up by letting Dak get the leverage to why this is an F this many years later.
Yeah, so I gave it a D- because I weirdly actually like the moves. Sorry. I like the moves that they have made, including some of the players that they've gotten rid of. But they can't do anything. The failure of this free agency is not having a plan for Dak in place. Like, how can you come to this situation and not have the answer already sorted? Because if the answer is he's staying, then you sign him. And if the answer is he's leaving, well, there's not really much, then there's not really much you can do. I guess you trade him at this point, and then you try and get the draft capital. Like, you trade him to a team like the Patriots, you trade him to a team like the Bears, and see if they want him over their draft.
You have to be able to get 2 to 3 first round picks for Dak. And if you only get 2, you're going to get loaded with other draft picks also.
Yeah, Dak Prescott is... So the Cowboys moving on from Dak Prescott would be one of the bigger gambles that a team has taken. And what could happen is you've built this good roster around him, and Dak Prescott is a top 10 QB, definitely was last year, second team All-Pro. And you take this team and then you move off the quarterback that's got them there. Well, that's crazy. But we can't do anything with this team while Dak is on his current contract. There is nothing that the Cowboys can do. So either the Cowboys win it this year with Dak Prescott, or you fail to move off him, because or you restructure his contract this year, but we've now missed out on the free agency window. So it's all a failure. Everything to do with his contract is a failure.
You guys freed up just enough money to sign your draft picks.
Yeah, exactly. Like, look, there are other contracts that they could have gone into to make some money to sign some free agents. They could have gone into Trayvon Diggs. They could have gone into Zach Martin's. They did go into Dak Prescott's to adjust his bonuses a little bit to make sure that we can get our draft picks. But we are in cap hell. But I do want to give the Cowboys fans some hope here. So in terms of team building, it's an F. But in terms of like actually going forward, and for this season, it's not as bad. It's not as bad as that. We addressed the need of Eric Kendricks, of needing a middle linebacker who can actually be the coach on the field, calling the plays with the green dot on the helmet. Like we've got that now in the middle.
Though.
Like, yeah, Van Der Esch retiring kills us because people don't give him the credit he deserves. When our run defense fell apart was because Van Der Esch was injured. He's the guy that tackles in the middle of that team. He didn't make big, huge plays, but yeah.
The Cowboys' best offseason move was Mike Zimmer.
Yeah, exactly. And which also adds to the addition of Kendricks, right? Because Kendricks knows Zimmer, knows his system, and it makes the transition
and Trayvon Diggs is going to fit perfect into what Zimmer does. Lock him down one-on-one. That one side, we'll worry about the other side if we have to in zone. You probably won't, but he'll even adjust. But he wants that one corner, which was Xavier Rhodes for years for him.
Yeah.
The only reason I gave it an F, and it's like I said, you have to go back to when Jerry fucked up the whole Dak contract because that led us to where we are.
Yeah, and people are saying, oh, well, the Cowboys have lost these players. If you actually look at the losses, they're not real. They're not massive. Tyron Smith hurts, but Tyron Smith only plays 13 games a year. We have the guy in-house who did a great job at left tackle in Tyler Smith, a great job at left tackle when he was down. So that's more of a lateral move. It means we're going to have to get a guard somewhere, like in the draft. That'll hopefully fit in. Tony Pollard isn't a number one running back. Like he's in the same kind of category as Swift, right? So he's a number one. He was asking for number one running back money. He can go to the Titans. That's okay. We'll draft the running back in the draft. That's a position that is easily fixed in the draft. And then Biadish, I don't understand why people are so upset that Biadish is gone. Biadish was the weak point in our offensive line. Like, he wasn't a good center, and this is a really strong center class in this draft. Like, if we can draft a center this year, there's a really, really strong class. So the players that we've lost, I'm not that hurt about. The not adding players isn't awful either, but we just do not have an answer on Dak Prescott, and that is a failure at this point of the season or the off season to not have an answer of what we're doing with Dak Prescott.
Yeah, that whole thing is wild to me that they haven't made a move. I thought that was one of the first things they would have done, but I'm sure they have a plan, and it doesn't look like giving in to Dak's demands is one of their plans. So either they're going to find an equal medium, or they're going to move on, or maybe it'll come down to where you ride it to see what happens, and a team like Atlanta will tamper the fuck out of your quarterback, and you can go from there.
Yeah. It's just an interesting move. Should we go to the painfully brilliant Philadelphia Eagles? Is that the next team on the list?
No, it's the Giants.
Okay, we can stay with the Giants. That's fine. We can stay with the Giants.
So you got quarterback Drew Lock, running back Devin Singletary, wide receiver Isaac McKinnon's. Go for it, Maddie. Name that guy.
Is it McKenzie?
No, the other guy. The guy after Jeremiah.
Hang on then. Let me have a quick look.
Let's see if your British history skills can help you with it.
Oh, no, not a clue.
Okay.
Eluamuno?
Yeah, tackle.
Eluamuno?
Tackle, Matt Nelson. John Runyon from the Packers. Interesting signing. Aaron Stinnies. Austin Schultman, which is a great backup, you guys. He was on the Vikings for a while, and he played great as a backup, and so that was a good move for depth. And edge Brian Burns, which in a trade probably was their best move. Now, look, everybody's going to say that, yes, they lost Saquon, and we all knew that was coming from last year. Like, we already knew they weren't going to re-sign him. Yes, the Giants are still going to be ass, but I really like their offseason moves.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they've just said our O-line is a complete shit show, so let's just see what else we can do. Yeah, it's very... Look, Daniel Jones isn't as good as his contract, and Daniel Jones's contract is the reason that you've lost Saquon Barkley. But Daniel Jones probably is a starting quarterback in the NFL, considering there's 32 quarterbacks in the NFL and we can't fill the spot. So Daniel Jones is a starting quarterback in the NFL in terms of the skills that he has and that kind of thing. Nobody can play quarterback if they're getting sacked 10 times in a game. Like, you can't play quarterback if you're getting sacked 10 times in a game. So I know you said John Runyon, maybe not the best signing. I don't really care.
Well, no, I said it was from the Packers. That was interesting. That's what I said about Runyon. It was interesting.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a bad signing.
Yeah, they have literally signed 2 tackles, 2 guards, and a center. Like, they've gone right. I don't care. I almost didn't care what they were doing at O-line. I didn't care who they signed. They just needed to sign anybody because what they've got isn't good enough. So yeah, good moves from the Giants.
Is huge.
Brian Burns is one of the best trades. What did they get? What did it take them?
It was
a second and a fifth.
All right. Yeah, a 2024 fifth round pick in exchange for a 2024 second and a fifth. So they get a fifth back, but they give up a second and a fifth.
Yeah, and a conditional fifth in 2025 as well. But for Brian Burns, that's fine.
Yeah,
it's pretty.
I actually give them a B because I said they're still going to be ass, but I like their moves.
Yeah, I weirdly like Drew Lock as a move, and I weirdly like Devin Singletary as a move as well. Like, Devin Singletary is that level of running back. Like, you can't, if you're the Giants, you can't justify a Saquon Barkley if you're that bad either. That's what I thought about the move on from Saquon Barkley. Like, you can't. It's kind of okay because you can't justify Saquon.
And if you're that bad anyway. Saquon that much, that's the thing. Like, no shot at Saquon, but like, dude got paid.
Yeah, like the Eagles can. Like, a team like the Eagles, even though they were the worst team in the NFL at the end of the year, but what the Eagles are probably going to be going into this year, a team like the 49ers can justify spending money on a running back.
You know, they weren't the worst team in the NFL last year at the end.
Statistically and in record, they look like it. But if you're one of those teams, you can justify spending that money on a running back. But if you're like the Giants, you can't justify spending that money on a running back when you have no pass rush, no pass protection, and no other weapons. Like, you can't just say, "Oh yeah, but we're paying Saquon this amount of money." So, not a bad off-season moves from the Giants there. I've given them a B as well.
All right. Well, let's move on to the Eagles. They signed Will Grier to a 1-year contract, quarterback. This is the one that blows me away. So Kenny Pickett goes for more than Justin Fields.
Yeah,
Let's repeat that. More than Justin Fields. Quarterback Kenny Pickett, running back Saquon Barkley, wide receiver Paris Campbell, wide receiver Devontae Parker. Like, these were all top pick guys too, if you think about it. They upgraded at tight end with Okawana Buna. Fucking what is? I can't do these.
No, that's okay. Just go for it.
Drake or London Dickerson, offensive guard Matt Hennessy.
Center is London Dickerson's going to play center, but
yeah. Brian Graham edge, Bryce Huff edge, Zach Braun linebacker. Oren Burks. Oren is a good name. Like, where the fuck I never like where we go. Okay. Linebacker Julian Okwara. I don't know.
Yeah.
Linebacker Devin White. Cornerback Tyler Hall. CJGJ at safety coming back. Kicker Jake Elliott. Brandon Mann at punter, and long snapper Rick Lovato. Yeah, that'd be like Demi Lovato. Like, I don't know.
Good Python name. Something like
Good Python name.
Basically, Howie Roseman's a fucking wizard. That's what I've taken from their free agency.
How is Kenny Pickett worth more than Justin Fields? They both suck balls, but at least Justin Fields is a supreme athlete.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett also can't throw from the pocket, but at least Justin Fields, if he breaks like Justin Fields can win you a game by himself. He can also lose you a game, but Kenny Pickett was a backup quarterback when he was drafted, like straight away. Like he should have been drafted as a backup quarterback to go. I don't get it. It just kind of rubs the face in the Bears a little bit more, considering they traded to Pittsburgh as well. And then
Look at that
Pittsburgh got more out of
receiving
that
core.
deal.
The Eagles' receiving core is so deep.
Yeah, I mean Devontae Parker has like done nothing at New
Look where he
England.
was.
I'm sorry, you can't call Keenan Allen old and then allow Devontae Parker.
Yeah, but when Devontae was in Miami, he played well.
Yeah.
And now you're talking that he's going to be 4th or 5th on your depth chart.
Yeah, it's also the experience that brings as well. That's the other part of that, right? It's the experience that brings. Paris Campbell as your third. Is Paris Campbell their third on the depth chart? Or
that would be my guess, chart? But I'm sure that'll play out.
Yeah, so it'd be AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Paris Campbell, Devontae Parker, and then Julio Jones is retired, surely.
But, and then they brought in Saquon. This team is fucking stacked.
So I didn't love the Saquon move when they first putting my pundit hat on. I don't want him in our division for the Eagles anymore as a Cowboys fan.
I don't like what they paid him, but he's amazing.
Yeah. I wasn't keen on the move because they have holes in other places. And then they bring in Devin White. And you think, oh my God. And then, okay, you get in a reject from the Lions, secondary.
He's coming back to where he played his best football.
Yeah. It's a good move. It's a good move. Eagles fans kind of going crazy about it. I'm not sure he's a massive needle mover, but the biggest thing that they've done is so they've lost the leadership of Kelsey and Fletcher Cox. They've lost their two leaders on either side of the ball. But what they've replaced that with is Landon Dickerson, who's going to be one of the best centers in the league, and Bryce Huff, who's a great edge player. And then the leadership also comes from Devin White as well, who was a leader for that Super Bowl winning Bucs team as well. So they've brought in experience in the wide receiver room and the linebacker room, and they've brought in leadership, they've brought in talent, and it's just not fucking fair. That's what it isn't, Jay. It is just not fucking fair.
Hey, look at all the people they signed. And now
the Cowboys don't sign the Cowboys don't sign people in. The Cowboys don't sign people in free agency. That's fine. But it's not the amount. It's just the standard of player as well. It's the standard that's a real issue. We could have really done with a Devin White.
Yeah, I love the moves they made.
Fuck him. A+ and fuck him for it.
All right. Well, let's move on to the last team, the Washington Commanders, or as they call them on Pat McAfee, which makes me laugh, the Washington Commies.
The Commies. Let's go Commies.
Yeah. Quarterback Marcus Mariota, running back Austin Eckler. Wow, stacking running backs in your division. Jamison Crowder at wide receiver, tight end Zach Ertz, Cornelius Lucas, offensive tackle, Nick Archuleta, offensive guard, Tyler Biadasz. Yeah. No, what?
Biadasz.
No, it's better when you call them badasses. I said I did that on purpose.
Badasses.
Yeah, I said I did that on purpose because I just like it. Sounds
okay, that makes sense.
Michael Dieter at center, edge with Dorrance Armstrong, edge Farrell. What is that? Celine?
Clelin? Okay.
Farrell. Dante Fowler at edge, I think was a good signing too. Yeah. Efi Obadaba, I don't know, whatever. I feel like it's tongue-tied.
That's a good effort.
What is with some of these fucking last names though? Like Frankie Love You, and I know it's probably pronounced Lavu. I was just gonna say it's probably not pronounced Lavu, but it's Love You. Bobby
Yeah.
Wagner is a great 1 year signing. Michael Davis at cornerback James Pierre, Jeremy Chin, Brandon McManus. You have to resign him because that is one of the best kickers in the NFL. And live snacker. I said I don't know where that came from. Long snapper Tyler Ott.
Yeah, the Commanders have also got a lot better, I think. Like, if you
They're
look
on the
at
way
their
up.
draft,
Like I'm not
they're
saying
on the
they're going
way
to
up.
win anything this year. They're going to cause people problems. Dan Quinn is a good fucking coach. Like depending what they do in the draft, this team is getting better. Like the Riverboat
Yeah.
Ron era is over.
Yeah, they've done a very similar thing to what like the Vikings have done, what the Bears are trying to do as well, where it's whatever quarterback walks into that situation, they're going to walk into as good of a situation as they can make it.
That's what makes me feel weird about them saying they're willing to trade out of 2. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, they need a quarterback at that point.
Unless their thought is we're sold on Michael Penix and we can drop back to 11 with the Vikings, take Penix and pick up another first round pick next year. I don't know. And then they weirdly have their front office being run by an NBA guy. So that like I'm not sure how all of that's going to work out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's I agree with you. I think they are probably sold on Penix if they're looking to move back. They're just seeing what they can get, and they still have a lot of holes on their roster. Like weapons wise, they've got Scary Terry McLaurin, great wide receiver.
I just read
and then
that they
that's
might
it.
be willing to trade him too, but I don't know if this
Yeah,
is all that pre-draft nonsense.
yeah, I'm
Because
not sure about
just
that.
for the record, I'm a true believer that the Vikings still end up trading up to number 5 with the Chargers and taking JJ McCarthy. I think that's how it works out. But like, there's all these rumors that they might be willing to get out of 2, and now people can fucking slap me in the face. If the Vikings got up to number 2 with them, I'm not sure who I want between Jaden Daniels and JJ McCarthy. I've become so sold on JJ McCarthy being perfect for Kevin O'Connell. And I don't know if I talked myself into this because I probably did, that I'm weirdly in this weird spot where I love Jaden Daniels. But if JJ is perfect for O'Connell, then, but I don't think the Washington Commanders are going to trade out of 2. I think they have to take a quarterback.
Yeah, the Commanders have done a similar thing to the Vikings, where Marcus Mariota they've taken to take the pressure off kind of the incoming quarterback.
That's why it makes me feel like it's Jaden Daniels, because Marcus Mariota is a
similar
mobile quarterback that if they have to throw him in,
running back friendly, quarterback friendly running back in Austin Eckler, like a lot of dump offs. Like
I wanted the Vikings to sign Austin Eckler for a long time in free agency, and then they got Aaron Jones, so I was cool. But yeah,
I love Austin Eckler.
Your division is stacked with running backs,
apart from the Cowboys. But yes, we'll probably draft the first running back off the. We'll probably draft whoever the first running back to come off the board is.
They're saying not until round 3 or 4 do they expect a running back to come off the board this year.
I think we'll probably take Trey Benson, maybe in the 3rd, maybe at the end of the 2nd. The only issue with Trey Benson is he's coming off a pretty major injury. But anyway,
I give him a
Zach
B.
Ertz, yeah, I gave him an A.
Okay.
I love what they did. And Bobby Wagner is the one for me where it's like, okay, you just bring in a complete culture changer in Bobby Wagner.
And then that dude is stud.
And then Dan Quinn brings out a really good defense as well. Like Dan Quinn creates good defenses. So just called a terrible game in that Green Bay game. But apart from that, he's been really good. So yeah.
All right. So Maddie, all up and down the board. And like I said, I only gave you guys an F that has to do with years ago when it comes to, I just don't like how they dealt with Dak, which makes this offseason super hard. So like, I don't think you guys did the worst. And I actually think after the draft, you guys will sign more depth pieces. And I don't think people understand that you guys have the perfect personnel for Mike Zimmer. The only thing is that you're not going to get Curse back because Zimmer and Curse hate each other. So there's that. But all around, I would give the whole division a B+.
Yeah, I think that the NFC East is the NFC East has all got better. The NFC North and the NFC East, there are better divisions this year.
I think
than
they're
were
going to be
last year.
two of the best divisions in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely. This podcast is running a bit longer than our usual ones. Would it be worth stopping it here and on Thursday doing the NFC South and the NFC West?
Yeah. Yeah, and then it gives us more time next week. We can do the AFC. And then before the draft, Maddie and I, if I can find the right simulator, are going to give you a 7-round mock draft.
Yeah, I think that would be best. Look, guys, we go into depth on pretty much every single team, and we can't help ourselves. And you're seeing behind the curtain here, but we don't think you'll be watching for much longer than an hour and 20.
I think a lot of times, so podcasts are very NFL podcasts are very boom, boom, boom with literal shit. Maddie and I do ours more like two friends having a discussion about what the fuck just happened in the NFL.
Yeah, we take our notes very separately as well, and then come together and just chat about them. So we don't know what the hell the other person is going to say a lot of the time.
Right. Me and Maddie do go back and forth in private chat. But the one thing is even before the show, I said, there's this trade that's out there about the Vikings, but I'll tell you when we're on the show. Like that, we don't always give each other exactly what we think, but some big moves, Maddie and I have been known to go back and forth, and then one of us gets smart ass and starts to try to like poke the bear on the other one, and it's quite fun. And we do it in a group chat where I can drag Hitman into it because he's an Eagles fan.
Yeah, that's when things start to get a bit hard there, where the Eagles fan then jumps in, because it's very difficult. It's very difficult to argue with a Eagles fan about squad building, to be perfectly honest, because they have the best GM in the league. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm excited. Let Kwesi cook, you guys. People are hating on Kwesi. I think that motherfucker is making brilliant moves when people were really questioning what he was doing last year. But I think he laid out his vision to the owners. They like the vision, and now we're actually seeing the vision come true. And I do believe when it came to Kirk Cousins, they were only willing to go to so far, and they weren't going to go farther. And the tampering ass Falcons went above and beyond what I don't think anybody saw Kirk getting $100 million guaranteed. I don't think that was coming. I don't think anybody saw that coming. And I fuck with Kirk where I'm like, you didn't keep your word. Money doesn't matter, but I can't be mad at a dude for going somewhere for $100 million. I can't. But I will say, I truly believe it takes a shot at his legacy, and it gives him zero chance at winning a Super Bowl now because he's a journeyman. But he will also, I think, by the time it's said and done, have made more than any other NFL player in history in guaranteed money.
Yeah, I think the two best off seasons so far have been the Eagles and the Eagles and the Vikings, out of the teams that we've discussed.
And the Commanders aren't far behind.
Yeah, the Commanders aren't far behind. The Giants have had a sneakily good one as well.
But as much as I shit on your Cowboys, they're my actual preseason pick for the Super Bowl.
That's the thing. The Cowboys are basically just saying, let's run it back with the team that got 12 wins last year, and they'll have Mike Zimmer did a better job at head coaching than Dan Quinn did, even though Dan Quinn got his team to a Super Bowl. But that's when you have Shanahan as your offensive coordinator, you can. So the coaching staff is
interesting. He won a Super Bowl with you guys too.
Yeah,
like Zimmer, and in Cincy, his defenses were always great with Perfect and Pac-Man Jones, and like we can go through Johnson, we can go through the list of guys. The defense was never a question in Minnesota until the last year when everybody was starting to get old. So that makes sense. And then we find out Zimmer and Spielman hated each other and didn't even talk.
Yeah.
But I think we're in for a great season. And I think both of our teams have a lot to watch this offseason or this season because of the offseason. So
yeah, I'm always more excited for the draft as a Cowboys fan. One of the best drafting teams in the league. Only the Chiefs have drafted more Pro Bowlers than us, so
that's a good stat.
Always focus on the draft.
That's a good stat right there.
Since Andy Reid took over, only the Chiefs have drafted more Pro Bowlers than the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, well, we'll get out of here. We won't keep anybody much longer. If you want to see these in clips, go over to our Instagram. I clip shit up and I throw it on Instagram instead of doing 25-minute shorts, I guess you would call them, on YouTube. We do it over on Instagram, but I put a lot of funny stuff on Instagram. People seem to like the shit we're posting over there too. I try to make it sports and everything. So go follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Rumble. We're getting a little bit of heat over there, which is nice. And keep running up those numbers for us on YouTube, everybody. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.